Welcome to Conversations That Matter, a policy-driven discussion with local leaders to discuss important issues that affect all of us in Kern County and our quality of life. I'm your host, Michael Turnipseed, Executive Director of the Kern County Taxpayers Association. Our guest today is Nicole Parra, Director of the California Renewable Energy Laboratory for the Kern Community College District. Welcome, Nicole.
Good morning, Mike. Nice to be here.
Who is Nicole Parra?
Nicole Parra, it's funny speaking in third person, born and raised here in Bakersfield and grew up in East Bakersfield. I attended local schools, local public schools. I love to tell the story of my parents meeting at Bakersfield College and, went away to school and was fortunate enough to, have the family support to go away to college. I have one brother who's a teacher at Highland High School. He's been there almost 30 years, the high school. We graduated in the 80s. And, Nicole, I love being of service and helping people. I love, reading. I have a lot of friends. I really, at this point in my life, this chapter in my 50s, I'll tell you something. I'm really finding my professional and my personal life really in balance and in harmony. And I've never been the happiest, that I've ever been. And so it's really a pleasure to be here and kind of share some of the things I've learned along the way.
Finding balance is a very good thing.
Yes.
So who were your role models growing up, and how did they influence you and direct you into your very diversified career?
Yes, well, I'll start with my family, my father in public service. But what's interesting is, growing up, a lot of the skill sets that I learned that were very helpful and I consider assets, in my professional career, I learned from my mother. I was 5, 6 years old, and I remember, slinking my way into the kitchen table, and she would always have a calendar out. And she would always look at, the days and mark and schedule, and she always had lists, and she always, woke up and she had her goals for the day. And I learned that from watching her early on, and I'm still doing that. In fact, this morning, getting my calendar out, yes, I have it on my phone, but really looking at, setting goals, what do you want to accomplish, and, and also her way of how she treats people, always, representing and how you speak and how you conduct yourself. So she really was my early teacher about etiquette, professionalism, and being of service. My father kind of then taught me about actually seeing him do the work in the community. But then I was surrounded early on by people like Richard Prado, who started the Conservation Corps here, Magda Menendez, who started or worked for Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, Cal Dooley, I worked for him, the congressman, for 10 years, Lillian Tafoya, who was my 6th grade elementary school principal at Eisler Elementary School. And so the list goes really on and on of people that I grew up with that I just didn't realize how big of an influence they were in the community and what they were doing. They were just family friends. But as I got older, and I had the opportunity to see people not just do a 9-to-5 job. I saw people on the weekends after school, mentoring, tutoring, teaching the youth boxing in Arvin Lamont. And so for me, it was not normal to have a 9-to-5 job. What was not normal was for me to see people just go home on the weekends. It was about doing something that you loved 24/7. So that with the training I got at home and then working for people who had the same mindset really set me up, I believe, the foundation to all the various careers and opportunities that I have had. But at the same time, I knew early on too that a personal life for me, getting married or having kids, was not an option because I fell in love with being in service, and I knew I couldn't personally dedicate or really had an interest, in the personal side of getting married. And so I stick to that.
I can date myself. I met Cal Dooley at UC Davis a long time ago.
Yeah,
We
he
were
was one of the
students
best.
at the same time.
Still doing
He and
good
his
work.
brother Dan
Yes, Linda.
and Dan's wife Diana.
Yeah.
Met them a long time ago
Yeah.
before they went on their careers.
Yes.
So, what skills do you think are necessary for success and to accomplish things, especially in this community environment that you work in?
I think number one is that, don't, I talk to a lot of, younger students or wherever I can, read to kids. And I would say that, the whole, ladder to success, life is not a ladder, right? You're not just, get promoted, do a next job and get promoted. It's what I say, and I remember reading this in a book. Life is a jungle gym, right? And sometimes you're going to, be in a job and you love it and you have an opportunity to do something more, but maybe it's less money and not the same title. And people sometimes say, well, no, I need to stay in this job and continue to get promoted and stay on this track. And I say to folks, have the flexibility and the skill set and the realization to pivot, even if it means, taking a lower salary, but it's something that can lead to another opportunity. And another thing is just do your homework. Make sure that before you enter a job or volunteer, that you understand the mission, the vision. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of grit. When I'm looking at now hiring people, I'm looking at the person who's first in and the last one out. But not just sitting around. I'm looking for someone who's, motivating people, asking, how can I help? What do you need to do? Because those are the people that are going to move and end up, starting their own business or bringing people with them. And so I'd say grit, intellect, hustle, some street cred. I also look at a lot of resumes, and for high school students, I used to do the UC Berkeley scholarship for the Central Valley, and you would see the 4.5 AP classes, and I served at the food bank one day, or I did this, but I was looking for kids who were out knocking on doors, getting people to get involved with the census, or building a trail in the mountains, or being, starting a club to be of service in some way, thinking really outside the box. That's how I think that makes you successful and makes you different, and gives you ability to have different chapters in your life and not just one career.
You've had many successes and a few disappointments in your career. What are your thoughts on life's disappointment, and how did you deal with them?
Thank you. I look at, because of my strong family foundation, and I've never been afraid of losing an election. I've never been afraid of leaving a job. And so that has given me a lot of ability to take a lot of risk in my professional career. Because if, I worked for, a congressman, I ran for the state assembly in 2002, and a few disappointments is, I'll put a light on me, was, 30 years old, getting elected to the state assembly. And on one hand, I wasn't the Democrat nominee. Dean Flores, the senator at the time, picked a farmer from Shafter to run for his seat. And Kevin McCarthy, who's now in Congress, his job was to ensure that I didn't get reelected early on. And I will say that looking back, being 23 years ago, I wish I would have kind of handled some of the situations more professionally than I did with these two guys. I mean, but they also made me better candidate and elected official, because they were always challenging me and pushing me to make sure that I knew the issues. For instance, Megan's Law, I was the author to extend Megan's Law and put the information on the internet for families in California. And I'll never forget Kevin McCarthy, telling everyone on the assembly floor to raise the mics and ask me questions about the penal code, right? Just kind of challenging me. And, my first response to that was like, okay, I'm going to outsmart him, and I'm going to find a bill he's working on, instead of kind of like trying to move on from that. So lessons learned. Disappointed kind of in our partisan politics, to be honest. that unfortunately it's not the best people for the job, it's who could raise the most money or who has leadership behind them. And a perfect example of that is, when I ran for the state senate in 2022, and you have a handshake with another candidate who says, I'm gonna run up north, you run down south, and then because it was too challenging, decides to challenge me down south, and because she's an incumbent, they knock everyone out. And I knew I had $20 in my pocket, Mike, but for me, I was not going to jump because, leadership was going to put $3 million to back her. But it's unfortunate that, again, we have elected officials who feel protected. The partisanship keeps those people elected, and we don't necessarily have the best people representing us to this day in Sacramento, in my belief. So the partisan politics, sometimes but professionally disappointed. I'm glad to balance that by my personal life, is that it's been very positive. And I work very hard to ensure that I protect the time with my family and friends, and also my mental health, to make sure that balance is there, for me to be able to be in the community.
We see it every election cycle.
Yes.
The most qualified to govern don't win elections.
Right.
With that, let's take a short break to hear a message from Kern Tax, and we'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Tim Rushing, and I've been affiliated with Kern Tax for over 25 years, currently serving as the board chair. Kern Tax is not an organization that will touch a warm spot in your heart. It is an organization that advocates for fiscal accountability and transparency while building relationships with the county, cities, special districts, and other government agencies. Since 2007, Kern Tax has been actively engaged in school districts concerning issuing school facility bonds. One would think Kern Tax would be an adversary, not a resource for school districts. On the contrary, local districts view Kern Tax as a resource. While our engagement has saved Kern County taxpayers nearly $1.5 billion in principal and interest, these savings did not come at the expense of the districts. The districts were actually able to get more usable funds for needed modernization and new construction by issuing well-structured bonds with shorter term maturities, saving taxpayers hundreds of millions in interest. Thank you.
Welcome back to Conversations That Matter. Our guest today is Nicole Parra. So what brought you back to Kern County?
I had been in Sacramento. I returned to Sacramento for 5 years working for Marathon Petroleum in government relations. And I will say there was an opportunity when I was looking at returning home to run for Congress or the state Senate. And so really that brought me back to Kern County. And so that year of campaigning, I just reconnected. And I'll tell you, in Tulare County, there were two towns, Allensworth and Alpaugh, that I've just spent the last 3 weeks, the last month. There was a woman named Sandra Miraz. She was one of my mentors, talking about mentors in Tulare, that I worked with in 2005 when their water wells went down. And I was able to secure a 5,000-gallon tank for the community of 800 people who had no clean drinking water until they had some state investment. So spending a lot of time on the campaign, walking door to door and reconnecting with a lot of community leaders and friends, I fell in love with the community of the Central Valley again. So I knew the morning or the election night when I lost the state Senate that I had other offers to go back to Sacramento or go into corporate America. And I remember thinking when I went to sleep at 5 a.m. that night that I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay and see my nephews in middle school and high school. I wanted to reconnect with my parents and friends. And 6 a.m., I get a call from the Kern Community College Chancellor, Sonia Christian. She's so good, and said, come work for me. Come work for the district, because I had got to know her, as you know, with Congressman Bill Thomas when I ran the Measure J campaign in 2016. that was again an opportunity for me, even though I was headed to Sacramento, to regroup and to help build a bipartisan coalition with the Blue Ribbon Task Force, with former Mayor Harvey Hall, with all the community leaders. And for me, my job was just to push the campaign over the finish line, get over 60% of the vote, which we did. So when she made that call, it was the perfect time, perfect opportunity, and I said yes. And so I applied online. There was a couple job opportunities, and within a month I was back home, living in Bakersfield and working for the chancellor.
So tell us about your job as director of the California Renewable Energy Laboratory.
So thanks to a $50 million state budget allocation, thanks to Assemblymember Rudy Salas, Governor Newsom, and the chancellor and her team, that was secured last year in the state budget. And with that, we've been able to, and as executive director working with the team, we are building a energy ecosystem at the Community College District. Kern Community College District is made up of Porterville College, Saracoso, and Bakersfield College. We have 3 centers of excellence, one in carbon management, thanks to a nice contribution donation from California Resources Corporation, Carbon TerraVault. We have a second school of clean transportation, and a final center of excellence in microgrids and agrovoltaics. And we're looking at a 4th center of excellence in hydrogen. We have webinars, we have academies. We work very closely with the pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship programs, and we are the place where we're developing curriculum for an energy science degree, and then work very closely with our dean, Tony Cordova, who has a great relationship here at CTEC in our industrial automation. You know, we have a bachelor degree in industrial automation that students who are dually enrolled in our current high school system can graduate not only with a high school degree, but an AA, and then within 2 years, if they seek a degree in industrial automation, within 2 years, have a bachelor's degree. That's game changing for families in the Central Valley. So really, the California Renewable Energy Lab has the centers of excellence, our partnerships with National Renewable Energy Lab, our partnerships with private industry, and the city of Bakersfield and Lorelei at the county, really looking at mapping out in a community college setting workforce development curriculum and clean energy programs. Credit. A lot of the petroleum workers are looking for certification to do something that can be their skill set can be put in a universal certification program. So if there is a need to transfer to another type of job, that we're able to provide that for them. So I love being in the center of energy and working. Again, I think to be successful, it has to be a public-private partnership. And who better to do it than a community college, which we have 116 in the state of California, is in most of the communities, and especially in the rural communities.
So do you really think that Kern County can lead the state in renewable energy and carbon sequestration?
I absolutely do. You know, in the 80s, we were leading in wind and solar. We're 60% we provide in Kern County, the renewables to the state of California. You know, for years, we provided the transportation fuels, we've provided food and defense. And so we have the ability now to sequester a lot of the carbon that is being in the air now. And I'll talk about one of the projects a little later, but with the ability to, I always like to say we have a potential to be the Carbon Valley, to basically help the state of California meet our carbon neutrality goals, because we need to get there by 2045, where we have to be carbon neutral. 85% of that by SB 100 and the scoping plan that the California Air Resources Board has finalized is 85% is direct emission reduction. But that 15% of reducing carbon, sequestering it through our soils, through decarbonization and utilization of other products, but also sequestering it in the ground, is how we're going to get there. And we can start that in Kern County through the work with our petroleum companies who are, whether it's Chevron New Energy, CRC, Carbon TerraVault, or Era Energy, to be able to do that for the state of California and our communities. So yes, absolutely.
Let's take another short break for a message from Kern Tax. I'm Michael Turnipseed. For the past 18 years, the Executive Director of the Kern County Taxpayers Association. Local government agencies must be substantially transformed over the next generation to address the stiff headwinds of changing demographics, regulatory mandates, and structural economic inequalities on many levels. This transformation will require meaningful improvements in public sector productivity, integration of governmental functions, and innovations that produce performance advances that can only come through creative public-private partnerships. Aggressive advocacy from civic organizations like the Kern County Taxpayers Association will be essential for public officials to get and stay focused on these challenges. If you're interested in participating in this transformation of our governmental systems, send me an email at kerntax@kerntaxpayers.org. Thank you for your time. Welcome back to Conversations That Matter. We have a few more questions for Nicole Parra today. So what role can the community college play in Kern County's energy revolution?
Really being the one-stop shop. And I learned that early on from just job training back in the day from CTEC, JTPA. And you know, it's really all of this energy evolution is really started 8 to 10 years ago with Chancellor Sonia Christian when she was president of Bakersfield College, and her first trip to Colorado to meet with the key people at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado, and her vision of looking at how do we, instead of, 20, 30 years ago, a company would come and folks would say, we need this skill set. So, job training or workforce or community colleges would kind of try to set up some career fairs, some job fairs, and that was it. This vision that the chancellor and I 100% support is we know what's coming. There is an opportunity through, $66 billion that was assigned to the Department of Energy after the president signed the bipartisan infrastructure law and the IRA bills last year. $66 billion of investment to clean energy programs, whether it's hydrogen, electric vehicles, carbon sequestration, direct air capture, and so the opportunity from the federal government, the private sector through the low carbon fuel standard to be able to look at getting credits for the decreasing the carbon intensity of the transportation fuels, a 45Q, which is through the IRS, which pays companies to sequester carbon more if you sequester it versus truck it or put it through pipelines. So there's an opportunity for, in the next 4 to 5 years, the next decade, to have all of these jobs, whether it's electrician, pipe fitters, construction trades, operating engineers, all of these jobs, they're going to be coming in the next, and we're also doing a study with NREL to look at what are the job sets, what are the future jobs, and how we can, like I said, the certification of making sure that those who are already employed stay employed. So with that is that the community colleges, I get calls from CEOs, once or twice a week. I'm working with companies that are here. I work closely with different groups. I'm speaking in communities. And one of the things I want to make sure that we talk about is the community engagement. A lot of these terms we talk about, renewable energy, direct air capture, carbon neutrality, we need to make sure that we're out in the community and working with the community and bringing them in projects at the beginning. And that's, through a lot of forums and conferences and basically going door to door. In fact, Arvin, they're having a big clean energy fair, and you better believe the C-Rail table will be there with mini demonstration projects. So we are, with the ability of the $50 million, this team we have, the ability to be a player when it comes to helping companies with their community benefits plan, right? To get any federal grant, a private sector company has to be able to put together a community benefits plan if they're seeking federal support. That's never been done before. And so how do they do it? They come to us and we're able to help them with putting together these type of plans. Maybe, a company comes in, I'm meeting with another company with the city of Bakersfield tomorrow that has a new technology. They want to test it in a lab. Well, we're able to bring them in with some of our professors and look at, is this the right technology? What are the other options out there? And finally, with our labor at the IBW or the building trades, we're able to put folks in the pre-apprenticeship programs. And I'll end with this statistic. 18 to 24-year-old men in Kern County, we have the third highest county in the United States of young men 18 to 24 who are not in school or employed. We want to help fix that. We want to help target especially those young men in our community in these type of jobs. But the first thing we have to do, our job, is to do the outreach and make sure that they know that we're here and we're here to help.
It's almost like boys have been a lost generation, sitting at home playing video games and on the couch rather than seeking jobs. What advice would you give to those interested in a future in clean energy?
For those, who have the ability to go online, check out the Kern Community College District, Bakersfield College, any of the community colleges. I talk to a lot of people and there's a lot of information. Go to the campuses if you can. We're also, because of Measure J, building the Arvin Education Center, expanding the Delano Education Center, or call me. I give everyone my cell phone number. It's crazy. 661-345-2271. Call me, text me, come by the district office. We're available and we want to help. And so it's really, the first step is for any individual to think about, what, I'm not happy where I am. I want to make a change. Where do I go? Well, call us. We're here to help. Or call me.
Any closing thoughts?
No, thank you for this opportunity to talk about what we're doing at the Kern Community College District.
Thank you for joining us. Nicole Parra, Director of the California Renewable Energy Lab at the Kern Community College District. Kern Tax wants to also thank the video production class at the Kern High School District's Career Technical Education Center, instructor Lisa Kirch, and her students for providing the video production services that make conversations that matter happen. Most importantly, we want to thank the viewers who are listening and watch our broadcast. Hope you found this discussion informative. If you have any questions, contact Kern Tax. Our email is kerntax@kerntaxpayers.org, or go online to the Kern Taxpayers Association.org. Once again, thank you for watching Conversations That Matter.